The frustration comes in because the product just below, say the C399, has the feature they took out of the one that was more expensive in order for it not to be directly comparable to the flagship. That's what ticks me off. The C399 is the latest do-it-all integrated amplifier from NAD, a brand that is becoming very synonymous with do-it-all integrated amplifiers. Featuring a hybrid digital N-core amplifier from Hypex, the amp produces 180 watts per channel into 8 or 4 ohms, with its dynamic power reaching as high as 250 watts. It has both analog and digital connections, including an HDMI input with EARC support. According to NAD, the C399 borrows a lot of its digital circuitry, think DACs, from costlier amps like the M10V2 and their M33 Master Series. So if those two products have been out of reach financially, the C399 is here for you. Using NAD's trademark modular design construction, the C399 lets users upgrade their units to include features like BluOS and DIRAC room correction. Now, speccing the amp with the BluOS DIRAC module raises the price about $600, but it ships pre-installed. Now, if you order the NAD without it, the stock unit will run you just under $2,000. You can always upgrade later, and installing the module is very easy. All you need is a screwdriver. Fully kitted out, the C399 is very comparable to the costlier M10V2 and M33. Like a lot of NAD products, there is more and more parity than there are differences, which is both a good and a bad thing. And while the C399 skips the style and well-constructed chassis you're going to find with the M33 and is missing the M10's vivid display and touchscreen, under the hood, minus some differences in power output, it is getting harder and harder to tell NAD products apart. If you are deep into the BluOS ecosystem and opt for the upgrade, the C399 user experience is going to be second nature. With features like AirPlay, Spotify, and Tidal Connect, and compatibility with Bluesound wireless speakers, you can stream your favorite playlists and build a Sonos-like whole home audio system pretty easily. Now, we don't have Bluesound speakers, so I cannot comment on the system's performance there, but I can say that the added features of BluOS work brilliantly. With this upgrade, you also get DIRAC Live. It's not the full version, so your corrections are going to be limited to bass frequencies below 500 Hz. You can upgrade to the full version of DIRAC through the DIRAC website and get full range correction for around $100, but out of the box, it is bass only. Since it's often the bass frequencies that need adjusting in order to maintain better clarity upstream, I'm actually not very upset about this limited version. But those of you who are expecting the full boat, you're going to have to upgrade your upgrade to get there. So how does it sound? Well, like an NAD. At least a modern one. We tested the amp with 4 different sets of speakers. Our Klipsch Cornwall 4s, the R&L 1961 bookshelf speakers, JBL's 4309, and the Polk Audio R700. I measured each speaker at our listening position, and there was no change in any of their measurements when using the NAD compared to any of our other amplifiers. Like the M33, the C700, and other NAD amps we've already reviewed, the C399 is pretty darn neutral. This is not an amp that has a great deal of character, so no warmth or top-end energy here. It is an NAD after all. And this amp is dead silent. Pairing it with our Cornwalls, which expose noise like it's their job, there was no audible hiss from the tweeters during quiet passages, such as those in Princess Familiar from Alanis Morissette's Unplugged. So, A+ there. The inclusion of DIRAC helped rein in the Cornwall's massive 15-inch woofer, revealing a tighter, more focused sound in the bass and low mid-bass. While I still prefer Class AB amps or tubes with Klipsch Heritage products, the NAD sounded pretty damn awesome on our custom Cornwalls. Switching to more traditional speakers, the amp handled the large 3-way R700s, easily controlling their dual 8-inch woofers. Speaking of control, the amp coaxed the maximum dynamic impact from the less than efficient R&Ls, which often need a bit of added volume to really come to life. And while we're on the topic of woofers, I love that the C399 has dual subwoofer outputs that are separate from its preamp outs, meaning you don't have to choose between one or the other. Being able to integrate either our SVS 3000 Micro or the R&L sub was a nice touch, because in 2022, not all integrateds have subwoofer outs, let alone 2 of them. Regardless of the speaker pairing, the NAD was unflappable and consistent. The NAD didn't bring out any dramatic change in any of the speaker's tone or sound. Bass was taut and well dampened. It was deep, detailed, but maybe not the most explosive. But that's keeping with my prior experience with NAD amps going back 20 years now. The mid-range is, near as makes no difference, perfect. If it's in the recording, the C399 will present it without any added coloration. The highs, well, they're detailed to the nines, but not the airiest. NAD's treble response has always struck me as a touch dry, but that's purely subjective talk because excess shimmer or ringing can be attributed to either distortion from the amp itself or be the byproduct of a speaker's design or tweeter material. So if you like a little top-end zing, the NAD may not be to your liking, but if you err on the side of just the facts, the NAD has your back. Moving to soundstage, the C399 once again walks the straight and narrow, not robbing or adding anything extra to our speakers compared to other similarly priced amplifiers. Detail is always good, and when listening to either the Arendals or JBL's, separation was impressive. The NAD allows your speakers to shine to their fullest, which is what you want in an amplifier. Dynamically, the NAD is slightly reserved. The Technics SUG 700 Mark II, or even our Audiolab 6000A Play running as a preamp for a pair of Emotiva BassX monos, had a bit more dynamic snap and immediacy. But on the whole, and when turning things up just a little bit, the NAD doesn't disappoint. As the centerpiece of a two-channel home theater, the NAD C399 is terrific thanks to the inclusion of its HDMI port. Connected to either the Sony X95K or our LG C2 OLED, the HDMI input had zero issues, which is more than I can say about other, more expensive HDMI-equipped products we have in-house right now. If you are primarily a two-channel enthusiast who occasionally dabbles in movies, the NAD should be on your short list. As for comparisons not from NAD, the C399 is most likely to be cross-shopped against the stellar Marantz Model 40N and the costlier Cambridge Audio Evo 150. Now, starting with the Model 40, the NAD with its BluOS and DIRAC module installed offers way more features. I mean, it's not even a debate. If you're looking for maximum value when it comes to features or specs, the C399 borders on untouchable. But I prefer the sound of the Marantz over the more sterile sound of the NAD, though I wish the Marantz had DIRAC like the C399. I'm still a hard pass on the Cambridge Audio 150. The Evo is gorgeous, way nicer looking than the C399, but sonically, it's just not a dramatic leap, or a leap at all. Given that the Evo 150 costs nearly $650 more than the NAD, I just don't think the cost is justified. But that's just me. And before you hit me up in the comments, no, I haven't forgotten about our once referenced NAIM UNITI Atom. Inflation has hit the Atom in 2022, causing a roughly $300 price jump since we reviewed it 2 years ago. I still think the Atom is a fantastic amp. It has the je ne sais quoi that I love. But at $3,800, it is easily supplanted by the newer and less expensive amplifier like the 40N and the C399. I still prefer the NAIM's sound, but handing over an extra $1,200 is becoming a harder pill to swallow. The C399's biggest competition is from NAD itself, because NAD offers an integrated at almost every price point, many of them with overlapping tech and features. I can see buyers succumbing to decision paralysis as a result. We've reviewed a lot of NAD products, and whether you're shopping for an affordable option or stepping up to their cost-no-object M33, know that they all have arguably the same sound. So whether you spend $5,000 or $500, don't expect a night and day difference, especially when it comes to materials and build, unless you're willing to spend M33 money. At $2,600, the C399 falls right in the middle, between the costlier M33 and the more affordable C700, or even the Blue Sound Power Node. The M33, it is a work of art, but if you can get by with the C399's slightly lower power, it's, at least to me, pretty much the same product. It lacks a sexy touchscreen, sure, but performance-wise, the C399 is more like an M33 than not. And while I haven't demoed the M10 V2, I have a sinking suspicion the C399 is going to be very similar, just without the big sexy screen. And if you don't need DIRAC or a phono preamp built in, but want a screen and can get by with a little less power, save your money and get the C700 because, surprise, surprise, it sounds just like the C399. There is no difference in the BluOS user experience between the two. If you can do without the screen and a few less analog inputs, the Bluesound power node will save you even more because the performance is indistinguishable from that of the C700 when pitted head to head. And this is why I am mostly confused by NAD nowadays. Like I've said in my other reviews, there just isn't much of a difference in the listening or user experience across their product line. As long as you can identify the connection options you're after and the features you want, get it. You won't be buying a bad product, and it's a safe bet you're also not going to be missing out on too much by not spending more money. Perhaps for some, NAD is taking the guesswork out of the buying process, but I also wouldn't be surprised if you pass up the C399 altogether in favor of something else, simply to escape the fear of buying the wrong NAD. So that's it. That is now my take on NAD's C399, but what did you think, Kristi?
Well, no wonder that the new SOP over there is a mandatory hour-long Zoom call. I have a feeling it's about convincing you that there is actually something different from product to product.
Yeah.
Look, this is a good product.
It is.
It sounds great. It works fine. Mm-hmm. But I am with you. Unless I'm looking at the price tag, I'm starting to have a really difficult time telling the difference between one NAD and the next.
Yeah.
And we talked about this, but I can also see that people, especially NAD fans, they're probably going to have feelings.
Yeah.
And I could see some of the comments trending towards, I don't know, maybe things like your butt hurt, or that you've got something against NAD, or that you're being a little unfair since, from my opinion, they are not the only company that have products that sound the same at various price points.
Sure.
So I thought I would give you the opportunity to make your case a little more clear.
Every manufacturer that makes an integrated amplifier, or receiver for that matter, seems to have a product at every price point. Rotel does it. Cambridge Audio does it. I mean, everyone does it. Where NAD confuses me and kind of frustrates me is it's not that I have a problem with having something at like every $200 as you move up the line. It's that I feel like NAD does what Porsche does, in that they can build you, say, an M33, like they did with the C399, and it can outperform or be equal to their flagship. But then they'll just take one thing away from it, and that will be the difference maker. That will be the thing that they say, oh, you need to go here for. And while that seems like it makes sense at first, the frustration comes in because the product just below, say the C399, has the feature they took out of the one that was more expensive in order for it not to be directly comparable to the flagship. That's what ticks me off, because you have a great amplifier fully kitted out with the optional BluOS kit at $2,600. You can make the argument that it is near as makes no difference a half-price M33. But rather than just come out and say that that's what they're doing and that's what it's all about, then they start stripping away other things. Or if you don't want to spend the money and get the module, then what's the difference in getting the C700 if you want to use BluOS? Like, why would you make BluOS optional? I guess is the bigger point I'm saying. It's your platform. It's your baby. Why? Why is it just not standard of all the features to rip out of your newest amplifier, the C399, BluOS? Like, it baffles me. You give me an HDMI as standard, which is something that has been an upgradable card thing in NAD history as recently as a year ago. So now that's standard, but then you ripped out the thing that you're known for, BluOS. Doesn't make any sense. It really doesn't make any sense. And I also kind of wish that NAD would just stick to a hybrid amplifier technology, because the difference between their non-branded hybrid amp and now the Hypex, Encore, whatever, is negligible. It's negligible. But I know that Hypex or Encore, those have brand recognition, and those are obviously going to be things that maybe pull people into your brand, pull people towards you because, oh, I know that Encore's good or Hypex makes good amps. So why not just let Hypex be your amplifier and then give people a 30, a 50, an 80, 150, a 250 watt and call it a day? The reason why NAD confuses me more than, say, Rotel, even though Rotel is kind of did an NAD with the Diamond series, which we're not going to get into, is that Rotel operates on kind of good, better, best. You have the A series, you have like the 1592 series and the one below it, then you have Michi. Don't get me started on Diamond. It's the same thing for Cambridge. You have the AXA, AXR line, then you have the CXA line, and then you have Edge. It really helps make things really streamlined. And within those lines, you only have like one or two options, you know? And so it's not like NAD where it's like, we're going to hit you at 300, we're going to hit you at 379, we're going to hit you at 450, we're going to hit you at $700, $800, $1,200, $2,000. But we're just going to start playing hopscotch with these features so that, you know, you may end up overspending just to get something you don't need. But then the thing you needed more power, but all the feature that's what frustrates me.
It's overcomplicated.
It's overcomplicated.
Like
and NAD's entire MO since their beginning was about utilitarian, not complicated. And I feel like ever since they became more of a, call it, digital amp company, they have messed with features and software and just parts bend everything else. And they've lost their kind of clear roadmap that audiophiles used to have when shopping with their brand.
Do you think that they've gotten to a place where they're just trying to be too many things to too many people?
I think they're trying to be too many things to themselves. Like, it's bizarre to me. I don't understand how even their own ecosystem can really support all of the SKUs that they have.
Well, but
you know,
I mean,
hold on.
I think I can see how they can probably support it simply because it's pretty clear to me that they're reusing the same box for the majority of their products.
Oh, financially, manufacturing wise, it's very easy to see how doing what they're doing maximizes profits. I mean, hell, minus the M33, which is, again, work of art. It may not have been my cup of tea, but I bow down to that amplifier because it is amazing. It does everything. You just have to either like its sound or you don't. But from the M33 down, I don't care how much money you spend. You're getting the same volume control. You're getting the same push button switches. You're getting the same inputs. You're getting the same binding posts. You're either getting the same screen as the M10 as you are in the C700, but without the touch, or you're getting the graphing calculator, Texas Instrument piece of crap that everyone uses. The BluOS, it's the same app. It's the same app for all of it. So you can buy a $499 Node and have the exact same streaming experience as the $5,000+ M33. And that's, I guess, the issue is from the Master Series down, it's all made from the same parts bin and it's all using the same hardware and software across the board. So buy the NAD that has the power you need and the input options that you're after and hit stop. Because if you're like, well, I'm thinking of upgrading to it's not going to matter. It really isn't. They sound the same.
Yeah.
I want to say all of this, if you're thinking I'm hypercritical, I'm saying all of this as an NAD fan and a customer with my own money. Throughout the years, I've bought more NAD products than probably any other brand when it comes to electronics.
Yeah. I definitely think that I could see how there would be people, especially if you are newer to the hobby, how you could be looking at all of these products and just like, I have no idea where to start.
Yeah.
The other thing I think confuses things is the Blue Sound brand, which if you're not aware, the parent company for NAD is the same as what you find with Blue Sound. So that's going to be why you're seeing a lot of crossover between the operating system. I kind of wish they would just be all under one company and like stop pretending like there's really a difference. I don't really think there is. Personally, I find the Blue Sound Power Node to be probably one of the better all-around products, and it's more affordable than a lot of the I would say like mid-tier and up NAD products. Personally, out of all of the NAD products we've tested, I'm still a fan of the T778 receiver that we reviewed. I think that it is maybe the best buy out from NAD.
It gives you the most flexibility.
Yeah, it gives you sort of that M33 feel in terms of like with the display and stuff. It's not touchscreen, but
yes, it is.
It is?
Yeah, it was.
Okay, sorry, it's been a while, but
it was.
It's very similar. You can make it a home theater. Obviously, you can
sounded great for stereo.
And for stereo.
Had DIRAC.
Has the versatility that you get with the C339 or whatever. Oh my God.
Yeah. The namings. The names are terrible
of this particular product. C399. I would choose the T778 over the 399 simply because it gives you more. Just a longer roadmap should you want to upgrade go home theater and not just stereo or whatever.
The 778 is great. I'm actually, if you want the cool factor, I'm probably a little bit more C700 for stereo with that nice big screen, because then you get the cover art and it's a little bit more attractive than this. As someone who has to film these products in a living environment, filming an NAD product, especially one like the C399, or what was that even cheaper integrated that we have, 338 or whatever, the thin one that we reviewed a year ago or a year and a half ago. Like, they're a bear to photograph. I mean, they are about as visually interesting as a brick. And so in that respect, like the C700 or the M10 V2 with their larger screens, like that, just at least you got that little bit of wow factor. And the C700 is what, $1,000, $1,200 cheaper than the C399. Granted, you're never going to have DIRAC with it, but you get BluOS as standard. So, and you're going from 70 or 80 watts to 150 with the C399. But for most people, they're going to be fine with the C700. You really are. So, I'm just going to get on a rant again. So.
Yeah, I think that what we talked about in the review, or what you brought up in the review, that the creation of the fear of making the wrong decision, or just that decision paralysis, is a real thing when it comes to HiFi and home theater, because we see it every day in the comments. And so I can only imagine if you're looking at the NAD line and you look and you see all of these options, or you're just like, it's like going to a restaurant where
it's like Cheesecake Factory.
Yeah, it's like I can't make a decision because there's just too many choices.
I knew I liked something on page 4, but by the time I got to page 8, I don't remember what that was.
Yeah.
So it sucks. Yeah. Well, anything else?
No.
That is now our review of the NAD C399. What did you guys think? Good product? Agree with our rant? Are you just spinning? Are you still here? Because you're just like, this guy's gone to crazy town. Let me know in the comments below. If you like this video, please do give it a thumbs up, like, and subscribe. Go ahead, ring that bell so that you're notified when new videos come out. If you use any of the links that Kristi left for you down below to simplify your shopping experience, know that that is a great way that you've continued to show your support for this channel and the work that we do here. And both of us thank you all very much for doing that. Follow me on Instagram, Recovering Audiophile, and that's it for today. So remember, The only person who has to like the sound of your system is you. So happy listening, everybody. Thank you for bearing with us, and we will see you on the next video. Bye.